You got a challenge piece too? Not wait. Mike's first, but
okay.
A month ago, I was COVID recovering, quarantining, whatever. So I was on Zoom and couldn't really hardly hear anything or see much too. So anyway, I figured that there had to be somebody who came up with a tip or trick about using a jam chuck or a vacuum chuck. So that's what I did with this. So anyway, I figured I would enter it as a challenge. This was Bowl in a Bowl. I got the idea from Todd Raines down in Austin, Texas. He did an IRD that I watched in November. And it was really pretty cool because he came across it from a guy in Germany. In Germany who did it. He saw it on Vimeo. And Todd doesn't speak German. And so he watched it about 20 times and kind of figured out what the guy was doing. But especially like schlur and a schlur. You figure schlur or schlurb is join word for bowl. Anyway, I did 4. And it was kind of by accident. But you start off, and all you do is you make a perfect semicircular bowl, and inside and outside with thick wall. And then you figure out, you cut that down. He says there's 4 main steps to doing this, and 3 of them are just making a hemispherical bowl. Then all the magic happens when you're cutting these down, and it's just off-center turning. So anyway, that's the first one I've ever done, and I don't know, maybe the last. I'd probably try another one, but kind of fun. Anyway, so that's my story. I'm sticking to it.
But wait, before you walk off, I want to know who all went up to the table besides me and tried to get those pulled apart and thought, okay, there's at least 3 here. All right. I thought that you'd put the finish on and put them together too quick and they glued together, but I thought it was fun. I thought it was,
well, all the grain matches,
yeah. So should have been a clue, right? Thank you, Mike.
This time, like I say, once you kind of do it, it's pretty cool. And you can do all kinds of different things where it actually goes down inside. You know, but you cut those from the other direction. So,
oh, wow.
You know, yeah. You cut it from this. I started from, I cut actually the inside bowl first, and you just keep cutting it down, and you cut all that away. And then you have this, and then you keep cutting in half. One of the tricks to this thing is, okay, notice the curvature of the bowl. You gotta follow that when you cut the individual bowls out. Otherwise, you'll have one side that'll be a lot thinner than the other side. It'll be real thick as you go down. So that's why you have to follow that curve. And it's, you know, after you do it once, you'll understand it's kind of cool. So anyway, that's it. This is just an old piece of Bradford pear. It came out of our backyard in 15. Had a couple cracks that I had filled with CA. I didn't care. I just wanted something to hook out with this, but they're not nice. Thanks.
I did try to pull them apart, though.
Hard to understand the challenge for tonight, but I think I got it. Last month I showed you how I made just the sandpaper from a punch, and it just can punch them out left and right. And so Chuck came up to me that night, and he said, instead of punching them on 2x4s, punch the sand disc on a big thick piece of rubber. And he's right. It doesn't damage it at all. It works great. So anyway, yeah, I had to use this little sander again, just a small one, to sand the inside of this small bowl. If you tried to use a 2-inch disc sander, you're not gonna. It's kind of like how Kevin did his spears. You know, you're hitting the edge of a 2-inch instead of the entire sandpaper. So basically, I just kind of wanted to show this little handle thing here that I did to sand the inside of the bowl. This particular bowl had to be sanded to 1,000 grit in order to accommodate the stain, so it doesn't show any any scratches at all. So that's what I did.
Very cool. Oh, Anthony, your turn. Sorry, sir. God, I gotta get another coupon. Just a minute.
Used Mike Thomas's method for making boxes. I was gifted, no, I dug out of the trash can a bunch of Osage orange, and that was the size of the piece of wood, and so that's what I made. And I used drills to hollow the inside of it. Absolutely, I scrounged it. All right, what's the best kind of wood to turn?
Free wood.
Free wood, found wood, yeah. And so that's all. It's just, I'm not certain what you put in it. It's a battery storage device.
All right. Thank you, Anthony. Mark's got a challenge online?
Yes.
Okay, Mark.
He's not present, but there's a picture.
Jack's pulling up Mark Inman's picture.
Yeah, he made the segmented tourniquet that was discussed. That allows you to hold a ring of pieces together while you're gluing them.
Okay, so it's a segmented tourniquet that allows you to put pressure on the outside of a circle, basically, evenly pressured outside of the circle. Okay, very cool. Thank you, Mark. I don't know, is he online tonight?
No, he wasn't expecting to know.
Okay. Oh, that's right. He couldn't make tonight. He had a date. Well, I'm gonna let Sue pick our winner.
Wait, Phil Sykes has
Oh,
Hey guys, can you hear me at all?
I
Yeah?
can.
Can you see
Yes.
me? So I totally could not remember what happened during the last meeting. And so I found a different person who had a good tip or trick. If you guys know who Richard Raffin is, he's got a new YouTube channel and he's got a bunch of new videos he's put up there. So if you're familiar with Richard, or if you're not, go look him up on YouTube. And he talked about a fun way to drill holes in handles on the lathe. And he actually did it by mounting the drill in the headstock and then using the tailstock to push your piece of wood into the drill, which I thought about doing before in the past, but thought it was a little bit risky. And then when I saw him do it, I was like, I guess I'll give it a try. And it worked really well. And it was really fast to do. In the past, when I was making handles, I'd set up the drill press and I'd try to align everything. And it would take like a half an hour just to like drill one hole like nicely. But this took just a couple of minutes. Safety wise, you got to be careful when you're doing it. But worked really well. And I made a whole bunch of handles for some new hollowing tools that I got, and I've been able to use them. So, so that was my attempt at a tip or trick from last meeting using Richard Raffin.
Very good. Richard Raffin, it's Raffean. So if you want to look him up.
Yeah, he's got a bunch of books, a couple of videos. He's been pretty quiet for a while, but he's got this new YouTube channel. And and he's got a lot of fun videos.
Cool. Throw a ticket in there for him and I'll hang on to it. And then, when you call off the winner.
Phil and Mark. 1 second. Getting tickets.
Excuse us for that brief interruption. Yes. When is the one about that? No more players.
How about a prelim?
Okay. Phil is in on this as well as Mark Inman. Drop ticket. You got Phil, I got Mark.
Okay.
All right, and Phil is going to be our drawer tonight.
This is Phil.
We've got 158.
Our number is 158. Phil, You got a nice block of figured walnut. Let me see. There I am. There.
All right.
So it'll be here. Mike will have it for you if you ever get a chance to hook up. But
It looks like a brick.
some fun, yeah. Don't throw it through a window. You're supposed to turn it.
Go ahead and just write my name on it. We'll throw it through a window. Wait, don't write my name on it. Wait, write Mike's name on it.
And we'll throw it through the window.
Yeah.
Thank you for participating tonight, Bill.
Thanks, guys.
All right, let's move on then and get right into our show and tell. Looks like we got some few fun things over there. So if you brought a show and tell item, pop over to get in line and get ready to show.
I've been making acorns, and the acorns are I make the nut part out of palm tree seeds, and the tops are made out of wood. This is something called a foxtail palm nut. I'd never seen one before. I bought a bunch of stuff from Gene Doran up in Alaska, and there were 3 or 4 kinds I'd never seen or heard of, and this was one of them, and so I got some. And when I got it, it feels like it's made out of paper mache. You know, I normally chase threads and turn them and do stuff, and I didn't know way this is going to work. So what I did was I stuck it on the lathe and turned the end of it off. And I found that there was a small nut on the inside, and this shell is quite fibrous. I was thinking about chasing a thread in it, and I will probably try it on the next one. I've got 3 of these. And I dithered for a while about what I was going to do with it, and eventually just took a drill bit and drilled a bunch of holes in the nut and used a chisel and broke it up and got it out of there. And instead of trying to chase a thread on it, what I did was made a little collar out of African blackwood and glued it in. And then made this boxwood lid for it. And the boxwood lid had a little bad spot on the end of it that I couldn't get rid of. It was broken grain. And so I cut a hole and then put a little cap on it for fun. This other one is the picture frame box that I'm making for the class, an example for the class. What you do is you get a piece of decorative something. You could use stone, wood. I don't think I've ever used anything but wood, but you could use almost anything. And so there's a rabbet joint, mortise and tenon joint inside that this seats up against. I used Tight Bond 2, and if you make your joint tight enough and you turn it on, you put the glue on the joint, put it together, and then turn on the lathe real slow and hold it against the wood, and it'll cure real fast. And it adds a little bit of complication. You know, how can I do this with a minimum number of steps or a minimum effort? And so, I mean, that's what we're about.
Well, this bowl was made from scraps, and I labeled it Scraps 2. I think there's about 14 different species of wood in there, and one way to use it up. You got a bunch of walnut limbs, and they're not much bigger around than this, so I made some cups and a few vases. This one I decided I'd decorate with some epoxy, red, white, and blue.
Do you hollow down, Tony?
I hollowed it from the bottom.
From the bottom? Okay. Okay.
Actually from the side. That's why there's these 3.
The hidden joints.
Yep.
Very nice. Thank you.
Spring, the Independence Group, I get a few of the guys and we go out to Junction City, Kansas and teach the kids how to turn pens out there, let them turn their own pen and take it home. Well, in the spring, they have a fundraiser and they asked us to donate some stuff. And I had donated an acorn and a few other items. And the mother of the director out there saw that acorn and she says, "Did you make that?" I said, "Well, yeah." And she says, "If I don't get that bought in the auction," she said, "you're going to have to make me one." Well, guess what? She called about 3 weeks ago and says, "I need 2. But this one's made out of walnut. Of course, it's knurled to give it that rough look, and threaded. And this is Bradford pear. I like Bradford pear for my threads and stuff. I don't know why. I just have an easier time of it. But they both got them both made, and they both turned out really well.
Thank you. Thank you, Mike.
This is a piece of silver maple, and I forgot. I don't know if I mentioned the dye that I use they're called chestnut stains. I bought them back in 2005 from Craft Supplies at the first AAW that I attended, and so they still are good. But to get the green, I don't have green. I don't even know. Tony says they sell green, but I used yellow and blue to produce this green, and it turned out pretty cool.
Is there metallic in that? It looks like there's metallic.
No, not at all. When you look at it, though, because it may be the two colors, maybe that creates some kind of a
Iridescence.
Yeah, iridescence. That's a good word. So on this piece, basically, this is all resin filled. They're resin filled hazelnuts or filberts from Oregon, and basically, I ended up using the blue and the black and let those just fill the individual nut, and then I had to sand the back so that it would be thin enough to then glue on here, and I glued all the other filberts on there, and then I think I ended up using 4 different colors of resin: yellow, white, antique bronze, and maybe an iridescent gold. So anyway, it turned out I think I'd do something a little different next time, but the finish is just a Parfix CA finish.
Beautiful. So the only reason I got to come tonight and host, I guess I'll start that off with, I met my wife 35 years ago tonight at a wedding between her first cousin and my first cousin, who live in town, and we get together with the cousins. It sounds a little weird, but we go out with them about every Valentine's Day, and this was kind of a big one because it was actually their 35th anniversary. And I said, "Honey, I gotta do the thing." So I spent about 2 weekends turning and carving on this so that it could be her Valentine's Day gift, and I could get myself enough points to get to the meeting tonight. So basically, I found that Anthony had brought in some nice pieces of what is this? The box elder wood back there. And I saw it one day, and I saw a piece that had a nice color on the side, and I did study the color and how deep it went as to kind of establish how I was going to shape it and keep as much of the color as possible. And it was deeper down here into the wood than it was up here. So I kind of used that as establishing the shape. I put a band around the top of it. Having learned from a couple of bowls that I carved, where I carved on the lower side of them, and a lot of the carving you don't get to appreciate because it's not on the right part of the piece. And so on this piece, I made the band right on the edge of the turn, and then just found an image that I wanted to try to carve, and used. I used basically a Craftsman chisel, 3/8 inch chisel to do most of it, and then I've got a little carving set that I did some of the finer details on. But it did give me enough points to get to the meeting tonight, so it did serve its purpose. Is there any? You got one? Okay, so I will let Amphy go, and then tonight, if anybody has a chance to stick around, help us get the chairs and the equipment back out into place, we'd certainly appreciate it.
So, you said they were first cousins and they got married. Isn't that incestuous?
No, they were our first cousins and they got married. They weren't cousins. I mean, that's how it all fits. It works. That's how I can say it with a smile.
Well, it's different down the other side.
Yeah, I'm getting there. Somebody's from Arkansas here, and I don't know.
So when I started, I was a beginner, and somebody really held my hand and taught me how to turn. And this piece was the idea came from Chris Coyne making a toothpick holder. And it's really nice to see the progress of a beginner. So we have a new beginner at the club, and that he made several things. You want to come up? And
My fourth project,
was supposed to be much larger, but because lack of experience, it shrunk and shrunk and shrunk. And so now we are in the micro technology, you know. Yeah, I don't think that I want to ever have toothpicks. I'm using water pick. So next project will be a water pick holder. Yeah, thank you, Effie, for your being my mentor.
It's gonna work.
when I came home, my wife saw it and said, well, what did you do? Your water pick is not going to be when you go old fashioned, it's actually wood instead of a water pick. Exactly.
And how well did that feel, Solomon, to get through the project though, and have a completed piece and say, I took it all the way through, right? Yeah, and that's what it's all about. Just keep trying.
Yeah, they just small. Yeah, this is for small.
Anthony, were you going to show your nested bulls? Okay. Anybody that didn't get a chance to see him, jump over there before he gets out of here because they're really cool. Thank you, everybody, for showing up tonight and participating in our meeting. I think some good things were talked about. We saw some very cool pieces and an excellent demonstration by Kevin. So thank you, Kevin. Challenge for next month is turn something spherical. So you don't necessarily have to have a hollow sphere, but we want something round, right? Round. Yeah, okay. So hope to see all of you next month. Thank you for showing up tonight.
Yeah, you know how it is. Yeah.